What's going on, everybody? Jolts here from TheTokenMinorities, and I am back with my Week 7 team builder of the GBA D-League. This week we are against PaPaSea and the New York Klinks. Make sure to go check him out. He'll be linked in the description below. Very cool guy. Got to know him a little bit through the preparations for this battle. Very cool guy. Glad I finally got to meet him a little bit, as I hadn't really had the chance to talk to him too much up until this point. But regardless, make sure to go check him out. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a very stellar record this season. He's currently 0-6. So yeah, not too great, but that's not to say he is not a solid player and a solid builder. I think that his prep has been pretty strong, considering what he's been working with throughout the season, especially as of late, as he's made a few transactions that have turned his team into a pretty weak team, honestly, into a freaking powerhouse offensively. As you can see in front of you, he has access to PaPaSea, Manaphy, Sylveon, Serena, Haxorus, Gigalith, Mega Pidgeot, Weezing, Excadrill, Tauros, and Rotom Fridge. Definitely the first time I've ever seen Rotom Fridge in format, so that's kind of cool to see. But regardless, he has this really scary offensive core that gives me a lot of trouble. That is the PaPaSea, the Manaphy, and the Excadrill in Sand. That combination of Pokemon is able to effectively deal with offense, both hyper offense and bulky offense, which is what my team is designed to do. Either way, I can go either way with my team. It's usually more bulky, but I can go HO. Regardless, that combination beats all of my stuff. It's very tough. No matter how I prep, there's no way for me to have a guaranteed game plan going into this where I can guaranteed counter all of those Pokemon. There's no way, especially in combination with Mega Pidgeot, which gets access to U-turn, and if Mega Pidgeot just U-turns on one of my obvious blind resists, he gets to go into one of those threats and basically claim a kill every time. So it's a problem what I'm dealing with here. It's not an easy game whatsoever. I do feel like I have the tools to be able to build a team that can hold its own, but it's going to require me to play well as well. I'm not going to be able to just click buttons based upon how my prep has guided me and follow that to a win. It's not going to be that simple this time around, unfortunately, but you know, it's a challenge, so that's fine too. But yeah, so the Manaphy is probably the biggest threat against my team, in my opinion, as I only have like 2 water resists, and Manaphy has coverage for both of them. My team is very weak to water types. I think in general I've noticed that more and more throughout the season, but that's not really like, it's obviously bad, but it's definitely manageable because I have a lot of stuff that can just take stray water moves, as more often than not water moves come from bulky water, so they're not quite as threatening as what an offensive water would be. But in this case, it's a Manaphy, which is a threat, to say the least, to my team. Tailglow is a big threat. Z-Rain Dance is a big threat. Either way, I could see him bringing either of them and them being effective in either way, because I have very few things on my team that can OHKO Manaphy. I don't have a fast grass type or a fast electric type on my team. Rotom Heat can be fast if I bring a Choice Scarf, but I don't really like Choice Scarfed Rotom Heat too much in the matchup. It's okay, it's bringable, I think, but I'm not huge on it, I guess, in the matchup, but it is bringable. I'll give it that. It is bringable. Something I could definitely consider, something he has to consider. Gourgeist, I am not going to invest enough speed to outpace a Manaphy unless he is like really fat, which is possible, but even so, I don't have the best checks to Manaphy, straight up. I have to basically stack something to get damage on it so that something else on my team can take it out. So that will be something that is a challenge to play around and prep around, but especially in combination with the PaPaSea, Mega Pidgeot, and the Excadrill and Sand, it's going to be a challenge, to say the least, this week. But I do have a game plan here going in, and it starts by exploiting the flaws in his team. The major flaw in his team is his defense, okay? He is trying to survive this season on a very exploitable defensive core of Sylveon, Weezing, and now Gigalith, now that he has picked up that Sand option. That is not an ideal defensive core. And I say that because, one, they are all weak to Steel. Aside from Weezing. Okay, so Sylveon Gigalith is weak to Steel. Weezing is his only switch into that. Okay, and you're going to see a common theme here. Another option on my team that is offensive, so Cobalion, that's a very good offensive option against that particular core because it deals well with Gigalith and Sylveon and can hit Weezing neutrally. Okay, let's turn to another offensive option on my team. Scolipede. Scolipede has access to Poison Jab for the Sylveon. It has access to Aqua Tail, Earthquake, and Superpower for the Gigalith, meaning that Wheezing, again, is the switch in to Scolipede based upon the coverage, okay? Wheezing is the switch into Cobalion, Wheezing is the switch into Scolipede. Next, Mega Kangaskhan. His normal resists are Gigalith and Excadrill, both of which are hit by Earthquake. If he brings, like I'm expecting, an offensive Manaphy, an offensive Mega Pidgeot, Excadrill, Gigalith, and probably Haxorus, honestly, because my team doesn't deal too well with Haxor or just dragons that like the Dragon Dance. That means that Wheezing is also the switch into Mega Kangaskhan. Okay, Wheezing is the switch into everything. That's a problem because Wheezing doesn't have recovery outside of Pain Split. If it had something like Recover, then that might be a little more viable for him, but because his recovery is limited to Pain Split, Black Sludge, and Wish support from a potential Sylveon, Wheezing is pressured a lot, and that is what I can exploit in my team build. That is going to be my way in against this freaking threatening offensive team, and as you'll see as I develop my team, that's exactly what I go for. I'm going to try to set up a game plan where Scolipede can win the game in the late game, but it requires breaking down the Wheezing and probably breaking down the Gigalith and maybe even the Manaphy a little bit first before it's able to do so. But once all of those Pokemon are whittled down a little bit, then the Scolipede can absolutely win this game, and Scolipede is easily my top win condition in this game because of its access to Speed Boost, meaning that at a certain point it'll be able to even outpace the Excadrill in the sand. If he tries to revenge me with that, he won't be able to because of the Speed Boost, making me faster after 2 turns. And aside from that, he simply just doesn't have proper responses to the Scolipede and is able to do a lot of offensive damage against his entire team. So that's the general idea of what I'm going to be building around here for this matchup. And let's go ahead and hop on over to the Team Builder real quick. And as you can see, we are going to kick this thing off with the Scolipede. Now, this set is pretty darn good against this team, okay? So Poison Jab and Aqua Tail hits absolutely everything. It's pretty important. Unfortunately, I'm not packing Mega Horn on this set, but it is for good reason, as the combination of Swords Dance and Protect means that Scolipede can accomplish an additional role besides just being the sweeper. It can be a revenge killer with Protect against likely Choice Scarf users, as I do anticipate to see if he brings something like Tauros, I think it could easily be Choice Scarf to try to check if Scarf Zoroark. It's possible. This also allows me to guaranteed check a Z Rain Dance Manaphy. More importantly, as with the Poisonium Z boosting my Poison Jab, it does an absolute ton to Manaphy, and if I happen to get that little bit of chip damage with something before I have to check it with the Scolipede, then the Z Poison Jab will certainly take it out. So the combination Aqua Tail and Poison Jab does do enough damage to his entire team to where this is a sufficient win condition, especially if I'm able to set up a Swords Dance on something on his team. Now the issue is a lot of his team is very offensive or has access to Will-O-Wisp or Flamethrower in the case of Wheezing. So I need to have some sort of way of setting that up. I need to be able to set that up for free somehow against a team that has a lot of offensive presence. How do I do that? Well, there's this pretty cool move called Memento that a good little friend on my team named Zoroark happens to actually learn, and that is going to be the perfect teammate for my Scolipede in this matchup. I need to bring Memento on the Zoroark, which would actually allow me to potentially Memento down on an Excadrill. I could Memento down on potentially a Gigalith, though that's less than ideal. I could Memento down on maybe a Sylveon if he brings that, as that will almost certainly be the switch into the Zoroark. Mementoing on that means that Scolipede has a very free SD, and if Scolipede gets that SD and Wheezing is even a little bit weakened, it is over. It is straight up over, especially if I have hazards on the field. The Scolipede will be able to win the game at +2 if the Wheezing is sufficiently weakened. So Memento is clutch in terms of making that happen, and other than that, I can just bring Dark Stab because his only Dark Resist is the Sylveon, and let's be honest, Zoroark isn't really going to touch Sylveon anyways unless I bring Nasty Plot, Sludge Bomb, or Z Sludge Bomb, but I was not willing to bring those moves in this matchup because of how important Sucker Punch is for Excadrill and Sand, because of how important a Choice Scarf is to be able to outpace a Choice Scarfed Hoopa if he decides to bring that, and that maintaining that momentum versus the Hoopa is essential in terms of making this team work, because I don't have sacks. I don't have too many sacks on this team. Basically, everything needs to serve its role throughout the matchup for this team to be able to work out effectively. And yes, we'll just see how that goes. But the combination U-Turn, Dark Pulse, and Sucker Punch fills every role that I need this to offensively, and then Memento is able to set up the sweep for my for my Scolipede. So that's the core. That's the offensive core that we're trying to work with here. But like I said, a very key component in terms of making this work is to wear down the Wheezing. So how are we going to do that? Well, because I expect the Wheezing to be a switch into the Mega Kangaskhan, that means I expect it to also be Rocky Helmet and Fizz Def. That becomes kind of an issue for Mega Kangaskhan, obviously. So what I actually need to be able to do is to use Mega Kangaskhan to lure in the Wheezing and to weaken it into range of Scolipede. That's what I have to do. When his only switch into both of them is something that doesn't have recovery like that, it's just the best possible strategy to use in order to try to accomplish this this strategy. So we're going to bring the Mega Kangaskhan, and it is going to be work up Facade, as what I can do is I can work up on a potential switch into the Wheezing, and then I can work up again as he likely goes for a Will-O-Wisp. What that means is after a round of Stealth Rock damage, a +2 Facade burned has a chance to knock out the Wheezing. I don't think it does if he's full Fizz Def. If he's full Fizz Def, it still does like a ton. I think it does in the 70s on the maximum, or maybe the minimum. I'm trying to think. I think in the 70s is a roll. I know that from a +2 Facade against the Wheezing. It might actually be an Oko. Trying to remember if it's the +1 calc that's at 70% or the +2 calc that's at 70%. Regardless, it does a freaking ton, okay, to Wheezing, to the point where it's in range of Aqua Tail no matter what after another round of Stealth Rock. So this accomplishes that really, really important goal of weakening down the Wheezing. It's also able to most likely 1v1 whatever his potential response is to the Kangaskhan, as he has a few directions he could try to go. Maybe like maybe a Rocky Helmet Sylveon could be what he tries to do, but I can work up on that twice as well and do an absolute ton with Earthquake if I don't want to take Rocky Helmet damage, or Facade if I'm about to die anyway. If he brings like a fat Manaphy, then I can also work up on that, or even any Manaphy, because I have the Facade. I don't fear the Scald Burn, as he is definitely going to bring Scald on Manaphy. There's no reason not to against my team. He's definitely bringing Energy Ball, he's definitely bringing Scald. From there, it's just a matter of what he wants to do with his Manaphy. But yeah, so this certainly is a massive threat against this team, and having Sucker Punch, again, more priority to help out against the Excadrill in the sand, which I fear a lot with the type of team that I'm bringing here. That's probably the biggest threat against me, and it's probably going to get a lot of kills, meaning differential is not going to be something I can really try to preserve in this game, to be honest. But you know, it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one, absolutely. But that combination of double Sucker Punch should definitely help me out against his setup sweepers and against the Excadrill in the sand. One thing I did not note on the Zoroark, Zoroark is Choice Scarf because it allows me to outspeed +1 Manaphy as well as +1 Haxorus. As a +1 Haxorus, which could easily be Choice Scarf or just get a +1 from a Dragon Dance, is a massive threat to my team. So having that option to spam Dark Pulse against Pokemon like that is essential in my opinion. So I also didn't talk too much about the EV spreads here, but I think they're all kind of straightforward. You can see there's nothing too fancy about these. These are offensive powerhouses. Speed creeping. This one I think is dropping down to speed creep I don't think it's Haxorus. Trying to think what this was outspeeding. I think it's just Excadrill, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure this is just outpacing Excadrill with the Jolly Nature 156 EVs in speed. I didn't really think it was worth it to try to speed tie a Manaphy with this set just because I expect Z Rain Dance. I think that's the best possible set he can bring. Z Rain Dance, Tail Glow, Scald, or Scald/Surf, and Energy Ball, I think, is the best possible set he can bring against me, so that's why I didn't really care to go for max speed Jolly on this. So next up is the Torn T with a whack EV spread, but it's really, really important as well. So first of all, the speed is dropped a lot. I could have tried to outspeed Tauros. I think Tauros is kind of unlikely to come against me because his other offense matches up so well. Mega Pidgeot, Manaphy, Hoopa-Yu, Excadrill, like all these things I think have better matchups than Tauros does, personally. So I would expect to see those, and then if he brings Excadrill, I expect Gigalith, and then he needs Wheezing, like 100% that's coming. So I really don't expect him to bring Tauros, and I actually don't expect him to bring Sylveon either, which makes this set really, really good against his team, as Sylveon is his best response to the Torn T, and if he doesn't bring that, which I don't think he will, he might, but I don't think so, this just goes in against him if he doesn't bring that, as he doesn't really have proper responses to Hurricane plus Focus Blast, and Knockoff is really, really nice in terms of potentially knocking off the Wheezing, as this is a pretty decent switch into Wheezing if it needs to be, and It also would be nice to knock off a potential Sylveon switch, in which might be Rocky Helmet, knock off a potential Gigalith coming in, which also could be Rocky Helmet, though I think that the Smooth Sand is more likely. So, or Smooth Sand, is that the one? Whatever the one is that makes Sandstorm last longer. Kind of blanking at the moment. I think it's Smooth Sand. No, I don't know. It's, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, yeah, so this is really nice in terms of just the coverage against this team, but also the Assault Vest allows me to be a guaranteed switch into the Manaphy just until I know what his set is. If he happens to set up a Z Rain Dance, that means my Hurricanes are guaranteed going to hit, which is pretty nice. With this investment, 148 in special attack, I do a lot of damage to the Manaphy. Guaranteed puts it in range of the Scolipede, which is very, very important. Obviously, here for this matchup, being able to deal with that. Once again, U-turn is nice to keep the pressure on Hoopa U. You've already seen 2 momentum users on my team. You're actually going to see more here coming up soon. So yeah, that's pretty important there for sure. Focus Blast for the Excadrill and the Gigalith. And yeah, in terms of the investment, nothing really else to talk about other than the fact that I'm actually outpacing the Manaphy instead of outpacing anything faster on his team. I think the only thing faster than the Manaphy is the Tauros, if I remember correctly. I mean, as far as what this can actually outspeed, I could try to speed time Mega Pidgeot, but not worth it. This is really my only true switch into Mega Pidgeot before rocks are up, as this is not 2-hit KO'd. Otherwise, I have to lean on Priority and Scarfers to be able to knock out the Pidgeot, or just being able to survive a hit, as from full health, a lot of my stuff can take a hit from it, which is pretty nice. But obviously, once I get chipped a little bit, then I do have to rely on my Priority and Choice Scarfers to deal with Mega Pidgeot, because I'm not bringing either of my flying resists for this particular matchup. So, yeah, so that's the Torn T. Next up is the Mew. So this set is my my savior against Excadrill. So basically what this does is I am able to survive a +2 hit from Excadrill with this monster, which is pretty important, I think. If he has Adamant Life Orb, I think he has a chance to knock me out after rocks at +2. So what I need to make sure I do is to punish Excadrill if he ever tries to go for a +2 in my face. That means I'll have to sack stuff, but if you look across my team, sorry, I lose my voice. If you look across my team, I have a lot of ways to punish Excadrill trying to set up in my face, and most of my mons individually aren't that essential in this matchup aside from the Scolipede plus Zoroark core. These 4 mons here on the right are mainly there to serve their role, and then they are fodder. Okay, they need to serve their role of doing what they need to do, and then if I need to sack them against his offense, then I guess I can do it. We'll see how it goes, but it's kind of a risky approach to take because you never really know whenever you need a certain Pokemon to beat a certain wild set your opponent brings, but that is the approach I'm taking here to this game. Now, I am Foul Play, U-turn, and Psychic. U-turn for the Hoopa because with the Culpa Berry, this is a guaranteed check to all Hoopa forms, which is nice. As long as my Culpa Berry is intact, there is no way that a Hoopa is going to be able to knock me out in 1 hit unless I am severely weakened, as, yeah, the Culpa Berry really comes in clutch there. U-turn also basically knocks it out, which is nice, especially after Stealth Rock. Now, Foul Play is nice because it allows me to knock out a +2 Drill, or at the very least put the Drill in range of all of my Priority, and basically make it a non-factor the rest of the game, particularly if it has a Life Orb, which means the Life Orb recoil will put him in guaranteed range of +2 Foul Play, so that's good as well. Now, Psychic is nice for the rest of his team, basically. Specifically, it's really nice to hit the Manaphy as hard as possible. It hits the Mega Pidgeot, the Haxorus as well, as I think Foul Play does a little less than Psychic until the Haxorus has a Dragon Dance up, if I recall correctly. It's a really similar calc, but even so, it's mainly there for the Manaphy and the Gigalith, though, as just getting the damage off on both of those Pokemon is essential in terms of chipping them into range of the Scolipede later on. So, pretty straightforward set on this overall. Fizz Def to take hits from Excadrill specifically, as well as always check the Hoopa as needed. It can also take a hit from Pidgeot if I absolutely need to, as Mew is just naturally very, very fat. Now, finally, we have the Cobalion. This is a really solid mon in this matchup as well. With the Sugar Berry, it is a nice response to the Excadrill. It's a very good check to Excadrill. It's a good lure to Excadrill, potentially, if needed. This also is able to take a Hurricane from a Mega Pidgeot as well, which is nice. I hope I don't encounter that situation, but it's something I could definitely see happening. This is also a nice switch into the Gigalith, or just a nice way to deal with the Gigalith because of the Sugar Berry. I really don't expect to see Superpower on Gigalith this week. I expect to see Earthquake because it allows allows him to hit Diancie, it allows him to hit the Cobalion, and I think there's something else on my team that he wanted Earthquake for Nidoqueen. That's the other one. That's probably the biggest one, actually. He needs Earthquake for Nidoqueen. So, yeah, so this is nice in terms of dealing with the Sand Core, basically, as well as being a justified Dark Resist for the Hoopa Unbound, basically deterring it from spamming Hyperspace Fury, which is the one move that really terrifies me, basically, here with this matchup is Dark. I feel, while not super spammable against this team, it could be if Mew is weakened and if this is weakened as well. So that's pretty nice. This is my dedicated lead in this game, as well as the Shukaberry and the Taunt ensures that I'll be able to beat a likely lead Gigalith. Looking at my roster, I really feel like Gigalith is the best lead against my team, so being able to taunt that in turn 1 and then get up my Stealth Rocks could certainly be pretty clutch in this game, especially if he decides to not bring his hazard removal, which is only removal, I believe, is Mega Pidgeot, Excadrill, and Serena, so pretty decent removal, but I don't really think he'd want to waste turns going for it either necessarily, given the fact that offensive pressure is so good against my team. So, yeah, so that's the team. Ironhead plus Close Combat deals with everything on his roster, which is nice. He really struggles to switch into Cobalion. This is another means of chipping at that Weezing, as this forces in Weezing as well, like I mentioned earlier on in the video. So yeah, I'm just looking over to check my time real quick on this. So, yeah, EV spread on this, it has the bulk for Excadrill, for Gigalith, for the Mega Pidgeot. I think it has enough bulk to take a Hurricane. I think is what I was going for with the HP investment, and then the attack investment allows me to break... What was it? It allows me to Oko a Tauros is what it is. The attack investment allows me to guarantee to Oko a speed creeping Tauros with Close Combat, which may or may not matter. It came up in a mock, so I decided to pursue that and make sure I could do it. But, you know, it's not the biggest thing in the world. The most important thing is this is fat enough to take hits from his Sand Core and to really give it a hard time. Basically, forces him into the Weezing, lets me chip down the Weezing so that my Scolipede can win the game in the end. So, that's the team we're bringing this week. I don't know how confident I am in this matchup. Usually I'm a lot more confident in my teams going in. This one, the only reason I'm not as confident is because it's not a cookie cutter Jolt team, in that my cookie cutter teams play themselves. Okay, whenever I go into a match, that's what happens. My teams play themselves because that's how I build them. This one, I really have to be smart. I have to preserve things at the right times. I have to make sure that I keep my win cons intact, because it's not going to be an easy game with all these freaking scary offensive threats he could possibly bring against me. But we'll be ready for the challenge. I think we're done here. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all tomorrow as we try to continue... Well, try to break the streak, or continue the streak. We won last week. We're trying to continue the streak here, and maybe see if we can get ourselves up to 5-2 and put ourselves in a really good position for playoffs, and we'll just see how that goes. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all next time. Peace.